Yeah.
Come on out here, Billy Jack.
Yeah, well, you know.
What do I know?
Yeah.
I know that they put me on a hit list here in West Tennessee, to the point that whenever I get out on Sunday morning, I'm gonna go do a visitation on somebody's church somewhere, and it doesn't matter if it's in Weakley County, Obion County, Lake County, Dyer County, Gibson County, Madison County, or wherever, that whenever I pull up in their driveway to be able to go into their sanctuary, usually I'm greeted by 4 or 5 big old boys that's they haven't actually pulled guns on me yet, but I'm expecting that any time, to the degree of telling me, leave, turn around, and don't come back.
Yeah.
And you can't tell me, Billy, that ain't a form of discrimination as far as being racist against me. And the reason why that they're racist against me, because a lot of these places I've never stepped foot in any of their churches. Never had any kind of dealings with them, but because of the information that they've picked up on me on the internet, they've become racist against me, to the degree that they won't even let me walk in towards being a visitor.
Well,
a guest.
Thing of it is, Dennis, I wouldn't even go there and fool with it. I wouldn't even mess with it. I mean, I'd go to whatever church.
Well, you got to get a feel of the people, and the people's got to get a feel of you, right? I mean, you ain't gonna go. You're not gonna want to associate yourself with a group of people that's full of hate and bitterness, do you?
Dennis, a lot of people don't want you around them.
Why?
Your neighbors anymore don't even want you around them.
Why? What have I done to them?
They just they're crazy. The whole human race of people, not all of them, but the biggest part of your people now, that is fruitcake. They're packing guns. I just got through watching in there on television this morning. There's a girl in Mississippi, and her daddy and mother, just what they have to go through. She's a nice-looking girl going to university down there.
I think I've seen some of that.
Well, she went to Dennis, when you go to a bar and drinking and stuff, a girl, and go around the bar. And these ugly, dirty old son of a, you know what, men that would kill a girl like that.
Yeah.
Dennis is no good.
Oh no, this country has turned into a society that's no good. And the thing about it is, I was just talking to one of my associates down by Hop-In. You know where I'm from, Hop-In, Cydonia. And he's like 54, and he married a woman that was like 30 years older than him, and he's basically a carekeeper to a 94-year-old woman. Simply because they like me and I like them, and occasionally we get together and we do some things, the whole society down there has turned on them like they have me. And I'll just use this as an example. They're dog lovers. They got little poodles like y'all got, 7, 8 poodles. And they keep those poodles inside the house.
Yeah.
But they also have 7, 8 big dogs.
Yeah.
They keep those outside the house.
Yeah.
Well, somehow another one of the female dogs got pregnant and had a little puppy that's probably about 2.5 months old. Well, rather than take salt and put in a shotgun shell, or rather than shoot under the dog or around the dog, because the dog got out and went to a neighbor's house, they shoot the dog.
Yeah.
They shoot the dog.
Yeah.
And a lot of these people's dogs is just like cousins, aunts, and uncles, just like brothers and sisters, just like kids. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And they use this terminology. Oh, there's a leash law in the state of Tennessee. Oh, there's a leash law in the state of Tennessee, in which there is. Yeah. There is a leash law. Yeah. But just because there's a leash law doesn't mean that you have a law or a right to go around killing domesticated animals, especially if you know who the animal belongs to. But now you try to preach and teach that to those people down there in Cydonia and Hop-In, and it's just like talking to that tree out there.
Yeah.
They're old-fashioned in their old ways, and they don't have no remorse. They don't have no conception towards other people's feelings, how other people feels about their livestock or about their dogs, and it's just a dog eat world, isn't it? It's gotten worse and worse.
Yeah, it ain't no good. But
it ain't no good.
They don't even. Dennis, I just stay away from people. You know, I know they don't. You ain't got no around here. You ain't got no neighbors no more. That's like a man who got a. Well, Joe. Could you get somebody to do a little cutting or a cutting torch over on the wagon? I said, well, hell no, you ain't gonna get nobody to do nothing. So just let it go. You know, they ain't gonna do nothing. I mean, I don't even ask them more than that. They don't tell you anything.
The days of the good old Samaritan days is over.
Oh yeah,
is over. People that's going to go out of their way towards doing something for somebody and don't expect nothing in return. Those days is over.
No.
Those days is over.
They don't.
And until something happens to this country, and I'm not wishing for it to happen, but until something happens to this country towards putting people down on their knees, towards realizing that they had it made, but they squandered it. They took advantage of it. Until something happens, I think it's just going to get worse and worse.
Yeah, they won't. Us won't never be no good no more. Much. Not here. They ain't like it was here when I grew up shore.
They don't.
I'm a lot older than you are.
They don't unify. You ain't much older than I am. I'm 58.
Oh, 58. Shit, I'm 84 years old. I am.
84 ain't got nothing to do with.
It makes that's a lot of difference.
Well, now you've had a touch of bad health this year, haven't you?
Well, no, I cut my dang self in my hand right here with a pocket knife like a ring. You ain't never got to feel it back much.
You cut it real deep?
Yeah.
Right in the middle of that the thumb and that first finger? You did.
Bad.
See, it's you know, it's typical that whenever the older that you get, the lower that your metabolism becomes, and the longer that it takes for you to heal up whenever you wind up having a bruise or a break. But I think a lot of this food that they're feeding us is poisonous too. I mean, my God, I ain't never seen so many people like myself that's obese. I'm talking about kids. I'm talking about kids that's 14, 15 years old. They're twice the size and twice the weight is what they ought to be. Yeah. And you can't tell me that that's not going to have a repercussion on their health on down the road.
Old age to take weight. I used to weigh about 190 pounds. I lost down to about 167 to 70 pounds.
Right.
But I really don't need it on me.
Right. Don't really need it on you because it's just that much more dead weight that you got to drag around.
Drag around.
Right.
All like that stuff.
Oh, it's tough whenever you get heavy. I'm 350 pounds and it's tough. It's tough.
You don't need that on you, then.
No, I don't. But I've never seen society so cruel and so indifferent than what it is now. Can you believe that this past last week I didn't get out of the house because I'm scared to go anywhere. I'm scared I'm going to have guns drawn on me, or I'm scared they're going to go to pulling triggers on me.
Well,
going to unloading on me at the churches of all places. What's the church supposed to be for? The church is supposed to be a place to heal. The church is supposed to be a place to mend. A church is supposed to be a place to worship. A church is supposed to be a place to grow. A church is supposed to be like a hospital.
Yeah. But the thing of it is, if you, Dennis, if you're not wanted around one of them churches.
Oh, I don't want to go where I'm not wanted.
Just stay away.
Oh yeah. I don't want to be around a group of people.
Don't be around I don't even call the police no more. And that's the fool with them because they ain't worth shit no how.
That's right.
And I don't even mess with them.
That's right. But I'm like you. Why want to be around a group of people that don't want to be around you? I don't.
That's it.
I don't.
I've stopped at places that the man was sick. And I seen right away that I wasn't wanted, so I got up out of the chair and I said, I'll see y'all later, which was a hell of a lot later because I didn't go back. It's got
to the point that people no longer know how to be civil in the public. In the public, they don't know how. Because it used to be that people put aside their differences. You know, whenever you was in a funeral parlor or whenever you was in church, or whenever you greeted one another, let's say in Walmart or down here at Target or a hardware store, even though you may not have liked one another, you know how to act in the public. In the public, you know how to act. It's got to the point now people don't even know how to put on a fake facade.
I just don't get out and mingle with them no more myself. I know where I'm.
Well, you're known by 5 counties over. You've been to every Rush Arbor meeting and every sale around here.
But
people know you all the way down there in Jackson.
They don't.
Billy, people know you.
People anymore though is different than what I grew up with. I can talk to people, and I've talked to people, and young people really, and tell them what I've seen, growing up, and you can tell right away, well, they think you're telling them a damn lie.
Either think you're telling them a lie or think you're crazy or in a damn fruitcake.
I just shut up, walk off.
Absolutely.
Let them go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let them learn their lessons their own way. If they're not going to take the life of experience or the life of somebody else that's already been there, done that, if they're not going to listen, well, then leave them alone and let them learn their lesson their own way.
Yeah. I don't believe that.
Can't help them. You can't help a man or a woman that's not willing to help themselves. Can you?
I just stay away from them.
Can you?
And
the reason why I'm so intrigued about you is because of all these haunting tales that you tell about pertaining to the Civil War era and different types of things that you've been around graveyards and seen and heard. I'm fascinated by a lot of those stories.
I've been aimed to take him. We go up yonder, but I'm gonna have. We'll have to.
We don't have to do that.
Or that there. I want to go back to that cemetery up yonder. Where that I'll tell you in a minute up there where I shit, I can't think of the name.
We don't have to do that.
It's Smoot Cemetery. I want to go back up there, but I gotta get that boy to go with me in them damn fields back there. And if you ain't got a way to ride back there, as hot as it's been,
oh, you
die back there.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
It's a hill. It's a long way. Dennis Hill. It's as long. It's where we'll have to go as long as it's probably
halfway from here to Dresden.
Well, it's a mile or better.
Is it really?
Oh yeah. And then the other one over there is a long way off of that slave cemetery. Is off of the road. They got crops over there, and you just have to go through a damn cornfield over there or get out in the woods.
There's lots of slave cemeteries around here. You know it.
Yeah, there's one right over here.
It is.
Yeah.
Who all lived over there where you got all that train stuff and all them antiques?
Well, old man Doll. Well, first lived over there, Bill Stoker.
Bill Stoker.
He lived there in the kitchen part of that house.
Was that before you ever bought that property?
Oh yeah. He was under Nathan Bedford Forrest command in the Civil War.
Stoker was?
Yeah. He left here and went to Hickman down there, and he was kin to old man Doll Simmons, and old man Doll bought that place off of him. And Bill and him, John Mansfield up here at Palmersville, was under Forrest to command in the war. And he went back to Hickman, and he never come back here no more.
Well, wasn't there a building just for the Civil War soldiers over there?
And down there, they ain't...
what was it, old schoolhouse or something?
No, not there.
What was that building that I'm talking about?
Well, all the buildings is over there, so there's houses around there, but they all the houses gone. That's the oldest house yet over there. That's the oldest. That damn place right over there is the oldest place is around here anyway.
Oldest place in Weaver County?
Shit, yeah. They don't even nobody know how old that back part of that house is over there. Bill Stoker was living in the back part of it. Out there by the side, out there with that there smokehouse. There was a little log house that sit there, had a bed in it, had a chimney in it.
I know where there's still a couple log houses in its original form that's still standing today over in Obion County, not necessarily in Weakley County. Did you ever know any of the history about Beach Ridge down by Hop in Sidonia? That was a little bit too far away for you to keep up with that type of history.
There's a lot of history up in the north part of the county. I talked to a boy about going down yonder to where, down there at where them soldiers are, Confederate and Union soldiers too, are buried down yonder at that battle. It was here in Weakley County.
Uh-huh.
Well, they tend over that little old field. I know where it's at. They're out there. But anybody.
Now that's just right off from the highway. That's within walking distance.
That ain't worth a shit down there. I try to get eased into historical stuff, and I said, well, why don't you get a committee together and buy that damn little piece of land there where they attended at, and put a damn fence around it, and put a plaque up in there.
Right.
And a few things out there, a monument.
Well, there is a monument on the road detecting that there's a Civil War cemetery back in there. But after you get back in there, if you don't know exactly where it is, you won't never find it.
See, they let them go that, and a man that ain't no count to begin with, when he knows it's a cemetery there, when he goes and plows over it, he ain't worth a shit to begin with.
Do you know where the lake is over here? What's the name of it?
Garrett Lake's over.
Garrett Lake.
Built.
Did you know that there is a plot over there that was a cemetery, a Civil War cemetery? A matter of fact, there's a couple of them back in there that was buried during the Revolutionary War.
Yeah.
During the 1700s. Have you ever run across any Revolutionary cemeteries around here close?
Not here.
But up towards Garrett Lake, there's a couple up in there.
And over here,
Now Garrett Lake, that's just on the fringes of almost being in Henry County, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's right at the edge of Weakley County, isn't it? Huh?
It's close.
That's right there at it.
Yeah. Down here where me and Pat was tending the backer down there was a cemetery down there, a great big cemetery. And Dewey Turner lived down there, and he took every damn rock out of it. Me and Pat burnt plant beds down there at the edge of that bottom. And he took all them rocks down there out of that cemetery and threw them off the edge of that damn, threw them out on the edge of that bottom there, and that's where they lay today again. Well, you can't do that. Not by law, you can't.
You're not supposed to do that.
That's like
That's desecration of a cemetery.
I'll tell you another good.
That's like over there in I guess Benton County, where Nathan Bedrick Forest campground and all is, over just this side of Tennessee River. There was a big statue of a horse and Nathan Bedrick sitting on that horse.
Yeah.
Did you know that they come in there late at night and took that horse down? And to this day, I still don't know if anybody knows where it was. And they was going to do the same thing with the one down there at Memphis of Nathan Bedrick Forest. But just so happens, the government stopped them, because that's where Nathan Bedrick and his wife is actually buried at, down there in Memphis. And you cannot desecrate a cemetery. That's against the law. So they did stop them from tearing up that one down there at Memphis, but they didn't stop them from tearing up that one right over here in Benton County.
Yeah.
They took that horse and that whole rider, and to this day I still don't know if they've ever put it back. I'm pretty sure they hadn't. Now all that started during the grand design of Obama's administration.
Yeah.
You remember whenever those church folks got killed down there in South Carolina?
Yeah.
And that boy supposedly was a Confederate activist, and had all those Confederate flags. They found all those Confederate flags inside his room.
Yeah.
That's Obama's deal that almost started a civil war right here in the United States. And now they're trying to say that Donald Trump is trying to start a civil war by being a racist. Well, maybe he is a racist, but it was it was Obama that first planted that division seed of a racial war right here in the United States, and I'm afraid if we don't watch, we liable to wind up repeating what went on in the late 60s and the early 70s as far as the civil rights movement. You remember the civil rights movement?
Dennis, I'm going to mention something to you.
Do you remember the civil rights movement?
Yeah, I'm going to mention something to you.
It was bloody.
I'm going to mention something to you, and you mark my word on it. Donald Trump in office could have been all right if he used his head, but I tell you what he's doing.
He's opening up his mouth before he engages his brain.
I tell you what he's doing right now. He's starting stuff just like Adolf Hitler.
Yeah.
He's starting stuff just like Adolf Hitler did. And Adolf Hitler could have been the, if he just think about killing all the people that he killed. But just think about what he could have done
as far as
used that and loved
in a positive form.
He'd had the greatest country in the world.
Yes,
he could have been known.
I agree.
Great.
I agree.
He
would have probably been the greatest asset that the humankind had ever seen in the 20th century.
Out here one day, I said,
if he would have done it in the right way.
I was out here at the courthouse at Dresden, and I asked him. I said, "There's so many dove people as these young ones." I said, even had the Autobahn, the greatest highway there was in Germany, you know.
Right.
Well, she didn't. She never heard of that. Didn't know what it was. Didn't know what Autobahn was.
Oh, I'm sure.
I told her I lived on the Autobahn out here, that highway right there. It's real thing that hasn't done to it since Ronald Reagan been put in office. That's when they last put that to it. Well, I didn't even know what I was talking about. Hell, I didn't. Shit, I just got out. Did about. You know why I asked?
But you know what? You know what they know after they get through graduating in school now? They know exactly what the government wants them to know. In other words, they are taught and programmed based around what the school or the school teachers wants them to know. And anything beyond that, you're going to have to do the research and get involved in the encyclopedias and the dictionaries towards finding out what went on in other parts of the planet, in other cultures, and in other generations. You know what I'm saying? Because they're not going to teach you that in grammar school. They're going to teach you the basic fundamentals towards reading, writing, and arithmetic, and a little bit of science, well, if you're a history buff, you can get into some pretty good history pertaining to social studies and stuff like that, but you're only going to learn what they want you to learn.
I'll tell you one thing, they don't teach them working to work.
No. No.
I'll tell you what they teach them now, to draw for the government.
Entitlements. And whenever me and you was growing up, those entitlements didn't even exist. All these entitlements, in which I'm not saying that some of them are not good programs, but all these entitlements towards helping out on a woman that's got children that don't have a husband because he was a low-life, no-good-for-nothing scoundrel that just wanted to play around in bed and didn't want to have responsibilities. They've got all these programs to help all these women with all these kids, in which there's no doubt they need help. But don't you think that if a lot of those programs didn't exist, a lot of these women would think twice before they climbed up in a bedroom with some stranger and wound up having sex with somebody not knowing if they was going to be impregnated or not?
Yeah.
Sure they would. Sure they'd think twice about it. They'd know that if they wound up getting impregnated, that then they was going to have to pay the piper. Instead of them paying the piper, you know who's paying the piper? We are, the taxpayers. The taxpayers is who's paying the piper. And we're not only paying the piper on stuff like that, but we're paying the piper on all this stuff.
Yeah. Dennis Whitty, I'll tell you something. If Donald Trump gets elected in office again, the United States is burnt. Now you can, if you voted for him, I ain't gonna. I'm still your friend.
I didn't vote for him. I didn't vote for him.
They
took my voting privileges away here in Weakley County. They took my voting privileges away as well as my gun privileges.
Well, I tell you what, I'd be damn proud of if they did do it. I don't even go out there and they wrote a thing here the other day, and I ain't never got back in a letter out here wanting me to.
Jury duty?
No, I ain't gonna be on no damn jury duty. You know what I do?
What?
I've always said it. I'm 84 years old. They come out here and start full of shit. You got to be out there on jury duty. I said, I tell you what you do. You run that SB son of a bitch out there as long as you have, pardon my language. You keep on running, because I won't even be out there. Because y'all ain't nothing but damn crooks to begin with.
There you go.
Crooked son of a gun.
Yes, sir. They're extortionists. They'll take the laws and use them against their own people. There's over 2.3 million people incarcerated either in federal, state, or local jails. There's more people incarcerated, Billy, here in the United States than any other country in the world.
I know that.
In the world.
Yeah, they do. But
scheming, scamming, hurting people, wanting to ruin people's lives. And it ain't just here in Weakley County, it's all over. It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
There ain't no one person, ain't no two person, ain't no thousands can change it. That way, it'll be there it'll just get rottener and rottener from what it is. But I may not be here, but you just watch what comes up if he gets elected again in office. Cause really, to tell you the truth about it, he's probably, now like I say, if somebody voted for him, that's their privilege to do what they want to.
Sure.
But I quit even voting. You out here at these little local things out here, they come out here and stand on the damn front porch here.
They try to dominate
Want you to vote for them.
Try to dictate
and then
to you.
You'd meet them, and then once they get in there, you can meet them out yonder dressing. Hell, they got their heads and damn how they don't know you no more.
You got it.
And
it's one of the most hypocrisy type people in America that I've ever seen.
It ain't no good.
No, it ain't. It ain't no good at all.
It won't never be no good.
You know, Donald Trump got chastised because he said something to those 4 women about go back. Well, if you don't like it here, go back. Which is a very cruel thing to say to anybody, especially if you're here illegally, regardless whether you're from Timbuktu. If you're here, you're as a legal citizen. That means you're here as a legal citizen. Now, listen to me. I want you to hear me out. If us as an Americans can sit back and allow for somebody not to put their hand over their heart during the Pledge of Allegiance, or if we can sit back and watch somebody burn an American flag, which is just as downright dirty as it comes, as far as I'm concerned, if we're supposed to be able to put up with that, don't you think those people over in Jerusalem has a little tougher skin towards putting up with somebody that wants to slander them a little bit? And as long as you haven't actually threatened an ambassador or threatened one of their leaders over there, that's what this country's supposed to be about, First Amendment rights, right? So what I can see is this, Billy. I see that the president made a racial statement pertaining to sending those women back, but those women also was in the wrong by slandering, especially with them supposed to be government officials, towards slandering Donald Trump the way that they did and slandering Jerusalem. So what I'm seeing is a little bit of right and a little bit of wrong in Donald Trump, and I'm seeing a little bit of right and a little bit of wrong in them 4 women. You see what I'm saying? And whenever it comes to being a racist, that is something that you really have to work on towards not being a racist. And you have to admit this. If I wasn't a white man, you probably wouldn't allow for me to come onto your porch and sit and talk to you right now. In other words, if I was from Jamaica, if I was from Russia, if I was from the UK, or if I was from some other country, you probably wouldn't allow for me to come onto your property and talk to you.
Well,
be honest.
I'll talk to anybody if you don't force that good to.
As long as you're respectful.
As long as they're good.
But I guess in a way what I'm trying to say is we all have a little bit of, I ain't going to say that it's racistness against us, but we all have a little bit of, what would be the right word? Prejudice? We're prejudiced against other nations or other cultures. We're prejudiced against people that's rich. We're prejudiced against people that's intelligently smart. It's part of our human DNA. It's part of our characteristic. And it's something that you got to fight against because it is dirty. Prejudicism and racism is a bad thing to be a part of. I'll put it this way. Listen to me carefully. At the age of 14, my brother was scheduled to go and pick me up and take me to Dresden to pick up 54-inch chickens because I'd won them.
Yeah.
On the way, he runs into a motorcycle, an 806 International tractor.
Yeah.
They had to take him all the way down to Memphis. At the time, they didn't have airlifts. That was in 1976, or if they did, it was extreme. Anyways, by the time they got him down to Memphis, his brain had done already swollen because he didn't have no motorcycle helmet on, and he received such of a head injury that his head swollen up, and it cut off the oxygen going to that main vein coming up the stem up through the back of the head, and it cut off all the oxygen supply, and it caused his brain to die.
Yeah. They
put him on a machine. 3 or 4 days later, we was faced with the decision towards either leaving him hooked up onto the machine and letting him live like a vegetable, or pulling the plug.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, after we had made the family decision towards pulling the plug, we was all in the hospital grieving because he just breathed his very last breath. And within 3 to 4 minutes, the doctor hurried up and grabbed my dad and my older brother by the arm and took them outside and said something to my father. He goes, "Mr. Jackson, I don't mean to rush you because we realize that you're in a grieving state right now with your son." He was 19 years old. He goes, but on the back of his driver's license, he had signed the donor card indicating that he wanted to be a donor towards the rest of his organs being distributed to science, being distributed to other people towards possibly saving someone else's life. He goes, "We're going to have to rush this up, Mr. Jackson. We don't mean to be rude." And my father stopped him because he was a World War II drill sergeant.
Yeah.
He said, "Let me ask you a question. Can you promise me that my son's body parts are going to be put back into a white person?"
Yeah.
And that doctor looked at him kind of strange. He said, "Mr. Jackson, not only can I not promise you that, but I can't even promise you that your son's bodily parts will be put back into an American person." And my dad looked at him and said, "Well, you ain't getting my son's organs then." Yeah. And he went back into the room and continued to lengthy it out to the point that my father couldn't use his own son for a donor. Yeah. Now, I'm a donor. I'm an organ donor on the back of my driver's license because if my heart or my liver or my this or my that can help to save somebody else's life, why not? Because you're going to be dead anyways. You know, why not save a life? But we talked about that after that was all settled down, my mother, my 3 other brothers, and we looked at that towards that being one of the most awfulest things that anybody could ever do, was to use a racial type, I guess you'd call it a belief, but it was just the way that he was raised. You know, he was born in 1926. Yeah. I guess now he'd be freaking over 100 years old, or right at it. But I guess it was just the way that he believed that you know, you segregate from the white class, from the black class, from any other class, and because that doctor couldn't give him a guarantee, he said, "Forget it." Yeah. Well, do you not think that bothered that man the rest of his life towards him making that decision about his son? Sure it did. Sure it did. A matter of fact, as my father was dying, you know, one of the things that he kept talking about that kept coming into the room was a black person. "Get that black and so-and-so out of here." Yeah. God was allowing for him to be haunted over that type of sickness that he had towards a racial statement that he had done.
Well, I don't have no trouble with I ask myself.
I don't want to marry one of them. I don't want to get attached. I don't want to start a family in that way. But if they want to do it, let them do it.
I got a lot of good friends that were black, did have a lot.
Absolutely.
World War II, you know, shit, I know a lot of boys.
Or people that was from another country. People from Korea. People from Japan. People from China. I mean, there's people all over this country, maybe not necessarily right here in this designated area, but if you go to other parts of the country, there's all kinds of people that make America. Matter of fact, almost all, unless you're Native American, unless you're full-blooded Indian, almost all was inbreds, implants that come from other parts of the country that started right here in the United States. You see what I'm saying? If you follow your family traits, I guarantee you, you come off the boat somewhere. I don't know where you may come off of. I don't know if you come in off of the New Orleans boat or the New York boat or wherever, but you're like most of us, you're an implant.
Yeah.
But you're right. I really believe you're right. That if Donald Trump, because of his arrogance, he's very arrogant. He is a racist. He don't have the presidential qualities that I felt like that he would eventually require.
He could probably do all right if he does. I don't think he's no.
But he speaks. He puts his foot in his mouth.
He's not no. One thing about it, he ain't no good Christian man.
He's not a professional politician.
Because he talks ugly.
Yes.
He says anything. Dennis, you don't get up in there and pull what he does in there and say that.
With all those hookers and all those women that's been violated?
I don't.
Good grief.
You never heard a president. He said he was better than any of the presidents.
Yeah. Get up there and brag about himself.
Well, let me ask you a question. What do you think he's done in World War II, Donald Trump? He don't know what he's doing, and he just lie like everything. He just tells a lie all the time. He lies to get out of a lie, and he just messes with comment. And Dennis, if you're a man, you just don't say what he did about a woman. You just grab a woman by the,
Right.
You don't do that. You don't do that, Dennis. That ain't manly. That there.
Well, whenever you was born with a silver spoon in your mouth towards being handed everything in the world, I mean, my God, whenever he was just 18, his father gave him $1 million. Gave him $1 million. I mean, that tells me right there, he's out of touch with the real reality, such as people like you and me. I mean, he can act like that he knows about our hurts and our likes and our feelings and our desires and this and that, but in reality, Donald Trump has not never lived a life like you and I have lived.
Well, no, won't ever.
And won't ever.
Shit, no.
He's treated like royalty, isn't he?
I don't even
like he's royalty.
I don't even call him president myself. Hell, I wouldn't call him president if I was in some of his damn meetings, if I was in some of his things that he's talking about.
Well, you got to acknowledge the position that he sets in. You do have to do that now, regardless whether you like him, love him, hate him, belittle him, or whatever. You do have to acknowledge the position that he sets in.
I don't. You
do have to acknowledge that.
Local officials out here at Dresden, that's just like I don't even associate with them.
Oh, they think they're better than everybody else. They have panhandled off of the American people now for 30 years. You know why they took such of a disliking to me, Billy? Because in 1983, whenever I know that two hands miraculously come out of heaven that spared my life, that saved my life, I started going around telling people, hey, something supernatural happened to me. There was a miracle that happened in my life. Whenever I started doing that, you know what the general public down there at Hop In started doing to me? This right here. They started hexing me. Ooh, get away from him, get away from him. He's talking about angels. He's talking about God. He's talking about things that are supernatural. And then whenever I, sure enough, started talking about legalizing marijuana in 1983 for medical purposes.
Yeah.
That's whenever they sure enough hexed me. Oh man, they was all walking around doing this. You know what I'm saying? Taking two fingers and placing it together. Well now, 35 years later, look at what the countryside is just at the brink of doing. They're fixing to legalize medical marijuana all over the country and turn it into a federal law.
Yeah.
Because there are benefits with glaucoma. There are benefits towards having Caesar. There are benefits pertaining to medical marijuana. Now, somebody getting out here just getting wasted to get wasted? No, I ain't never supported that. That's like somebody getting out here taking a bottle of wild turkey and getting drunk. God didn't intend for you to get drunk. God didn't intend for us to waste our lives towards being intoxicated all of our lives. Now, there does come a time that you do have to use wild turkey. Let's say you had a broken arm or a cut off arm and it was turning gangrene. Well, you take that alcohol and you pour all over that arm and then you drink part of it to kill the pain. There is a purpose for alcohol.
Yeah.
Just like there's a purpose for marijuana.
Yeah.
If it's used properly.
Yeah.
But now get out here and try to tell these people around here that. They don't understand it. They don't comprehend it.
I don't tell them nothing much.
They're blind. The blind lead the blind. The Bible says if the blind lead the blind, they all shall lead it off into the ditch. It's really bad. It's really sad. And you know what? I'm just afraid that if we continue on being $22,500 billion in debt, I'm just afraid that eventually this thing's going to collapse. It's going to collapse eventually, and whenever it does, I don't know if we're going to redesign a whole new system. I don't know if we're going to start from zero. I don't know if we're going to default. I don't know if we're going to have a civil war. I don't know if it's going to be Third World War. But eventually, this thing's going to collapse, Billy.
It'll all blow up here for long.
Too many people getting too many free handouts.
One of these days, it'll all be pushed into a big, one of them countries will turn loose one of them big bombs over here on this country here, come over and that'll be, and then when he'll be into it.
Well, you know, right.
That's when.
Well, you know, right.
He'll have the last say up yonder.
You know, right now, with as many communication devices and the internet and everything, they don't have to blow a bomb and actually hit us. They could blow a bomb up in the atmosphere,
That's it.
3 or 4 or 5 miles up above,
That's all it takes.
and that would shortchange. That would cut out every satellite and every type of receiver that's ever been designed.
Yeah.
It'd throw us back in the dark ages, Billy.
And one more thing, it cuts your breathing out.
Probably.
I know so. Look what they done in Japan over there. See what they done. That just killed the whole.
You know the reason why that our breathing is as good over here is because you look around all the green trees.
Yeah.
Everything that's green, the green grass and everything,
Yeah.
that's producing oxygen.
Oxygen, yeah, that's true too.
Stuff that you and I can live off of.
Yeah.
Are you fixing to get going?
I gotta go up here, Dennis.
You want me to lock up, did you?
Yeah, hon, I'm gonna have
You
to
don't
go
need
up here.
nothing else in the house?
Huh?
You don't need nothing else in the house?
No, I'm gonna go up here and throw some hay in for them.
Well, it's finally cooled off. It cooled off yesterday evening whenever all that rain come in. It has finally cooled off a little bit. And I think the rest of the week's supposed to be fairly nice.
Yeah, it's supposed to be pretty.
But now don't hold your breath because this thing ain't over with towards summer.
Oh, no.
Don't hold your breath on this.
Dennis, it'll be.
You want that thing out of the back seat, did you, go in your tractor seat?
No, I'm through using.
What are you going to do with all them kittens? All them cats?
Yeah, just throw it out up there.
All them kittens up underneath there. Don't you have a mama cat
Yeah, she's
over?
right out there. She done lost 3 of them. They'll die probably, hopefully. I don't care nothing about these darn cats. They're a nuisance. No, that ain't the mama.
Some people are scared of cats.
Just throw it out.
Are you scared of cats?
No, I'm not scared of cats. I just don't like them scratching me. And damn, there's something.
Fleas.
Well, wasn't no flea. It was
And
messed
do
up.
that over there.
Do what?
I gotta go over to the farm and throw him some hay in over there and up here. And
Okay, I done locked the door.
when I get through talking to Dennis here a minute, I'm gone.
No, I knew she had them, but I didn't know where they was at. She had them in that box, and then she took them out, and I didn't know what she done.
Well, I'm fixing to go to Walmart. Y'all need anything?
I need a lot of things, but no. I've got to go get some groceries.
Do you?
Yeah.
Are you glad you got rid of all your goats?
Well, I ain't got rid of them. They just moved.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hey, Billy, let me ask you this before I hang up on you.
Hey, I carried them over yonder, Dennis.
Oh, did you? Before I hang up on you, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Just off from your property, past that little Y, which would be this side, there looks like a double wide right there on the left-hand side going into your property.
Yeah.
Don't nobody live there, do they?
I don't know. They left from over there. I don't know where they went.
And hopefully they stay gone.
That's the one that had all them dogs and killed my cattle over there. In my pit bull.
Well, is that property right there for sale? Is that trailer for sale or what?
I don't know nothing about it, Dennis, at all.
You don't?
No. I don't know a thing in the world about it.
Who would you get with towards finding out?
I wouldn't even know.
Because that looks pretty decent.
I bet. And it's all the pieces on the inside.
Oh, probably.
Because they tore it up one time. They moved that new trailer in there, and they tore it up so bad that when they repossessed it, they wouldn't even move it.
Really?
They just
They
left.
beat the damn walls somehow of it. That's what the boy did over there with his fist.
These guys
Well, yeah,
Doping.
Dennis drunk,
doing that dope.
drunk and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It ain't no good.
Yep. That meth has ruined a lot of them life, hasn't it?
I don't think they was on meth. They were just being dogs alive.
Well, they could have been born from a mother that was on meth.
They went down.
I see them. Come on, let's go. I gotta go to Walmart.
Take care of yourself.
Good talking to you, Billy. I'll do it.